So today we're going to talk briefly about how you should approach your brand new website and what you should actually do regarding off-page SEO. I know there's a lot of things that's probably on your task list right now, but off-page SEO still needs to be part of those preparations after you go live. I have brought some slides here today as well, so we're just gonna go through the content. First of all, an intro into why you should do this. Then we're gonna go through the 4 phases. I have divided into the first 30 days, the next 30 days, 30 days, and then the last 10 days of analysis. And then we're gonna finish up with some do's and some don'ts, so you can actually have some actionable tips to do what to do next. First of all, you just launched a new site. You probably have 100 tasks. You're drowning in tasks. There's landing pages, there's copy, there's other marketing activities. You probably have some products that need to fit into this whole scheme. Maybe you're not even full-time yet. It's a part-time thing. But here's the deal. Without off-page SEO, then you're not going to go very far regarding to organic traffic. So you might as well start now and build the foundation so it becomes easier in 3 months' time when some of these tasks probably are gone and you can actually focus a bit more on those. Or if you simply just doesn't have the budget right now. I have seen consistently on new sites that build these 50 to 75 backlinks during the first 3 months have created this solid foundation where Google has recognized them as an actual business, not just one like a scammy website that just pops up here and there. And it actually will help you a lot in 6 months' time when you're maybe even focusing more on the content, trying to get even more organic visibility, and maybe even pushing even more off-page activities. Sites that usually doesn't do all these, let's say, foundational tasks for the website, they usually get stuck in what we call the sandbox of Google. They don't get found, they don't get traffic, they don't get the same visibility as the sites that actually put in the foundation first. So the 4 phases are divided into the first one being the foundation and the visibility. So these are the social profiles, showing you're an actual business, stuff like that. Also just showing Google that you exist. Then we move on to content and community. So focusing a bit more on amping up your contributions on other websites, maybe even going to social media, get those backlinks. Social mentions are still a debatable thing within the SEO part, but actually showing Google that you exist is really, really important. Then the third phase is going to be media and volume. We're going to amp up. You have seen some of these things work out. You will probably start doing some PR. You can do some digital PR, or you can just buy some paid media links and stuff like that. And we're trying to build this authority bit by bit in the right order. And then lastly, the 4th phase is going to be just planning for the future. So you're going to spend the last 10 days just looking at the things you did, like how you did it, what impact it had, like where you spend your time and resources, and what actually you should double down on in the future. So phase number 1. Here, I always recommend that you look at your Google Business Profile. You're gonna add in information there, and then maybe even look at some of the most relevant directories you can find out there. If you're a SaaS, there's a bunch you can look at. If you're e-commerce, there's a bunch you can look at. If you're based in a specific country, then you should go for those as well. Then I always recommend that you look at all the social profiles that make sense. Even though you might not plan on using them actively in your marketing, add them, fill them out, and just leave them behind, because Google will see that you exist. And then the last thing I always urge is this thing we call the NAP. Name, address, phone has to be the exact same thing across. So if we start out with the first 30 days, I would recommend that in the first 2 weeks, you will focus mainly on the Google Business Profile. Find out who your customers might be, even though you're a SaaS or whatever. Find an address, add it to the profile, verify the listing. Nowadays, it's usually by video, so that takes usually some time between actually recording it and sending it in and getting approved as well. And then just we want to show Google that we are a real company, a real site. So let's fill out everything you can, add photos even if you can, add the categories and stuff like that, so it looks like you're a legitimate website. Then in the week, let's see, 2 to 3, I would focus even more on these directories. There's, depending on what kind of business you are, what site you have, there's a lot of directories that are relevant to your specific focus. If you're a SaaS, there's a bunch of SaaS directories. If you're e-commerce, there's a bunch of e-commerce directories. And then on one hand, you have this whole industry part where you focus on those, but you also have a lot of, let's say, geographical directories where they focus even more on, okay, if you're based in Denmark, or if you're based in Finland or France or whatever, then you go to those. And then even a layer deeper, you can even go cities. So there's probably for Copenhagen, there might be one, for Paris, there might be one. Find those, make sure they're just relevant for your site, and then just add them and add as much information as possible. And even if you can, then link in between all these social profiles as well. One of the most important things in this phase is actually the whole NAP. Name and address and phone needs to be consistent across everything. This is one of the factors that Google actually look at. So are there consistencies in your name, your address, and your phone across listings, across social platforms, across directories as well? So you need to make sure those are spot on as well. That's basically the first phase. It seems kind of simple, but it's so important to actually show Google that you are a real business, basically. Now on to the second phase. This phase, I call it content. Basically content and trying to distribute your business on other pages. Usually could be guest posting. I usually recommend that you look into these sites that accept free submissions. They might not give you, let's say, the biggest value in the off-page SEO wise, but they will mention you and they will show Google that you're actually a business. Then I would maybe look into creating some assets that could be your unique data points, reports, or guides, and tools and stuff like that, and see if you can spread those as well. Then we have the whole community aspect. If you're mainly based in the US or even in some national subreddits, see if you can find relevant threads where you can talk about your business. Maybe come with a relevant view on something, maybe from your, let's say, expertise or what you know even more about, like the stuff that makes you special. And then lastly, we maybe look into this strategy we usually call broken link building. Are there pages that use to link to your competitors where there might be a broken link, which means they are linking to a page that's dead now? See if you can replicate that content and then pitch to those pages if they want to replace the links to yours. So in this phase, we would always see if we can create 2 or 3 linkable assets. This could be if you're an e-commerce shop, maybe if you have some data on if you're selling beds, maybe you have some data on how people sleep, how often people sleep. See if you can find it somewhere else, gather it, and then maybe do an outreach run to that could be other blogs as well. Maybe you have a tool that calculates a certain price for something over time. Maybe if you have shoes and they're durable, you can make a tool that say, okay, if you buy our shoes, then over time you will save money because X, Y, and Z. Then I would also look into starting up some form of paid guest posting. We usually want to start small, so we look at pages that are ultra relevant. We don't really care about traffic or let's say DR or high authority yet. We just want mentions right now. So we want to build up these mentions across the web, and budgeting maybe $500 to $800 just to get some placements is a great idea to begin with, and then we can always analyze back on the efforts in the end of the 100 days. Then I would always focus on, if you go to Reddit, find the most relevant subreddit you can find. If you sell shoes for a certain niche, maybe runners or hikers and stuff like that, go into those communities, see if you can get your name out there. Maybe you can show your product or I don't know, add a view that's like is based on your expertise as well, and see if you can just be active in the community. Right now, we're not only looking for backlinks, we're also looking just for mentions and talks about your site or maybe your product. So see if you can get into those conversations as well. Reddit is notorious for, if you being too promotional, just gonna get downvoted and banned. So be very careful with this as well. And then lastly, in phase 2, spend some time, see if you can find out like who are linking to your competitors, see if they have any broken links. So these links to their site that might be broken. Replicate the content. That also gives you more content for your site, but it can also give you a backlink from a page that's like, hey, okay, yeah, that's true. Your content is exactly what we are linked to, so we might as well link to you instead of your competitor. And now, phase 3. So here we talk more about media and volume. You have been testing some of the tactics so far. You have built the foundations within the first 2 months. Now we're in month 3, so day 61 to 90. We want to like maybe push even more on authority. We have built some mentions online. Now it's more about getting those traditional backlinks from media or newspapers and stuff like that. So in phase 3, we're gonna focus on media links. Usually that could either be locally anchored. So if a city paper or a regional paper that talks in general that, okay, a new webshop has popped up here or a new product is been made by these people in the city. And these are usually a bit more expensive if you're talking paid media links. On top of that, we just want to add on some of the, let's say, actions we did in phase 2. We want to ramp up the volume a bit more. So maybe even spend more focus on, let's say, these smaller, ultra-relevant sites as well. So we can get the right mentions on the web. We want to amp up the link velocity a little bit, because the more your site has been alive or online, the more the site can handle regarding backlinks. So we want to build this momentum bit by bit. Then I would always recommend as well that you try to take another angle. This is the whole digital PR angle. Find a newsworthy angle, send it to some journalists and see if they would actually pick it up. And then, of course, when you're at the end of these 90 days, it's time to scale up a bit. So see where it actually worked, mix up your anchors a bit so it's not just your brand name, but also products, and then move ahead as well. Regarding paid media links, here I want the primary focus to be in this phase. So basically, find niche media outlets. As I said, it could be regional, but also it could be like, if you're selling shoes, it could be a running paper. If you're selling clothes, it could be a production paper. Find these ultra relevant that's not necessarily based on regionals, but more on product and industries. And then usually in this section, you should aim for, I know DR can be a very misleading term, but a good rule of thumb would be 40 to 60, and then a price that's between $200 and $500 each. So see if you can get some of those as well. Usually they're paid, but then again, it depends on the country if it's normal to get these media links just by paying. Then I would want you to focus 30% of your efforts this month, like this phase, on volume. So again, back to the small relevant ones, build more volume. You have the foundation in place. You have said to Google that some pages are mentioning you. Now you need to ramp it up. Just imagine you have like a normal PR campaign or marketing campaign. In the beginning, there might be some people don't know who you are, what you do, and stuff like that. But as more and more people get to know you, the more it makes sense that you get mentions online. Just as a note to all of this, like this is far away from anything spammy. If you are concerned about that, so if you fear that this might seem spammy for a new page, then you need to, I don't know, 10x this or 100 times this before it even becomes spammy in like the eyes of the search engines as well. And then lastly, for this phase, I would want you to do just one run of what we call digital PR. So usually when I say you need to pay for media backlinks, you can also do it the natural way. So find like a newsworthy angle, see if you can take 2 sources of stats mix them together and then give your side on the case. If you're selling beds, it could be sleep, or it could be mental health or stuff like that. If you have a product, then it could be, okay, you saved so much time based on this tool that we have, and then you can spend it on other things as well, or whatever it is. Find a unique angle where you combine certain statistics and then do a simple, let's say, outreach run where you find, I don't know, 50 newspapers. They don't have to be that specifically relevant or national. The point here is that you can create some sort of newsworthy angle, send it out, and then hopefully just one of them picks it up. So usually we usually love media links, and if we can get them naturally, then it's just a bonus, but it usually also takes some work. That's why it's only 10% of the phase. And now we have surpassed the first 90 days of the first 100 days for your site. So now we want to take a step back, actually look at what we've done, do some reporting, see, okay, have we gotten any links? Have Google Search Console actually seen the links? Have we seen any traffic from the links? Stuff like that. So I want you to take a step back, look at everything you've done the past 3 months, and then basically just see, okay, what worked, what didn't, what took up a lot of time but didn't give that much result. Like, how much did you pay for, let's say, some of the media placements as well, and then do some sort of, let's say, a rough calculation of, okay, what is the ROI, both in time spent but also in money spent? Because when you're a new site, you probably have a lot less time and probably also a lot less money, but it's easier to get more money to invest in your marketing rather than getting more time. When you've done that, now it's time to actually plan for the next, let's say, 6 months. So now we've tested it, we have made the page visible, and we have shown Google that we are an actual business. What do we do in the next 6 months? Okay, what from the actions you did in the first 3 months, what actions did actually work? And then I just want you to double down on the winners. So for now, it's not, you don't necessarily have to do the perfect thing off page wise. You need just to do something. So double down on the winners, find out if it was time that was the biggest constraint or it was money that was the biggest constraint, and then focus on the path that makes the most sense for you. And then here in this planning and evaluation phase, I also want you to add maybe one new test. It could be, let's say, podcast. Do we want to do a podcast that we push out on Amazon, Spotify, stuff like that? Do we want to do a videos that we can push out on media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, whatever? Or are we trying to do like partnerships, sponsorships, and stuff like that? I want you to just pick one, try it out, and then just like this whole phase of the first 100 days, then in 100 days again, take a step back, look at it. Okay, did it work? How much did we pay? How much time did we spend on it? And then you have a really good framework where you can keep adding on the winners and then letting the, let's say, the low ROI losers go instead. And then lastly, of course, track everything you can. It might seem a bit overdone, maybe like a lot of work, but if you don't know what you've done, when you've done it, and why you've done it, then you don't know why or why not you should do it again. So you need to gather this data by yourself or take third-party tools to gather this data, and then you can base your next decision on data and not just hope. Yeah, so that was basically the 4 phases of a brand new website where we want to show Google we exist, we want to test some small things out, we want to amp up some volume, and then we want to go back and see, okay, what worked and what didn't. So what I want you to do next is actually try to put this in a more practical perspective. What would work for your website? What would work for the case that you're in, the region you're in, the country you are in? Because there's a lot of difference between finding, let's just to take directories as an example. There's a lot more directories for internet-based products, SaaS tools, e-commerce than there are for, let's say, the carpenter in outskirts of Paris or London or whatever. So it really depends on where you are and what kind of product you have. So you need to there's no like one size fits all here. So you need to take this framework and kind of adjust it to your case, and then just test it out, track metrics on the way, and then see how Google reacts. And then this foundation will help you a lot in the long run. So if you don't do this, then you probably end up having 6 months where you try to do this instead in the future. But then Google will be like, hey, they have existed for 6 months, apparently, according to this indexation, but you haven't done anything to show Google that you're alive and thriving and having customers and all that. So just from our side, to make this more, let's say, actionable, I also added up some do's and don'ts here to say what you should do focus and what you shouldn't focus on, basically. So if we start with the what kills the new site SEO regarding to off page. If you're building too fast, you basically publish your website and then all of a sudden you have 1,000 websites linking to you, that's suspicious in Google's eyes. So one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get a spam penalty, or Google is going to be like, hey, these are unnatural. Let's just put the value at 0, and then you've spent a lot of time, a lot of work on something that didn't give anything. Then I also want you to focus on the anchors you actually make for the page. So you want to mix it up a bit. When you're naturally, if you're a new business, you will probably get a lot of links that link straight to your brand or your shop or your, let's say they call it the naked URL. So the actual URL you type in. And if you put too much effort on some of the keywords you want to rank for, so exact match anchors, then it's also a red flag for Google. And then again, then we're back to either you get a penalty or you get a situation where they're going to be like, this is unnatural, doesn't make sense, so let's just put the value as 0. And then I want you to focus a lot on relevancy and quality. Some of the beginning is to just get mentions, but don't overdo it. Don't only look at cheap backlinks, because you can buy those off Fiverr and then you get 1,000 backlinks for, I don't know, $10, but they're not going to help you. The same goes for if you only do one kind of, let's say, links. We've talked about directories and a bit of forward links and social profiles and media links and guest posts and stuff like that. If you only take one of those, I have put in guest posting as an example here. If you only do guest posting, then it would also seem weird for Google, because what natural mentions on the web would only be from one type of source. And then lastly, I know this seems kind of backwards, but if you haven't figured out your site yet and you're publishing a complete mess with wrong internal URLs and links and stuff like that, then the effort you put in this flow is going to be wasted. So what I actually want you to do is take a look at your competitors, see if what pace they have, how often do they get new preferring domains, how many do they get, where do they get them from. If you want to play it safe, then you match them. If you want to be a little bit aggressive, you can say, okay, we're going to do 20% more. Because when you start, you're at 0, they already have some history and you want to catch up to them. So you want to do a bit more than them to catch up to them eventually. Then I want you, as I said earlier, I want you to focus on a lot of different sources. Just imagine if no one did actual off-page, how would let's say, link building profile look like? It would be very diverse. There would be some from YouTube comments. There would be mentions in the media, maybe. There would be mention from business directories based on where you are. There's a lot of different ways to link to a page. Some are stronger than others. Some makes a bigger impact than others. But let's say the mixture of those are one of the most important things. You want to have a mix of PR, guest posts, directories. It could be podcasts. It could be supplier links. So people who supply products to you, they say, okay, you can buy it on this shop, for example. Then I want you to focus not necessarily only on DR. It can be a good rule of thumb, but it can also be very easy manipulated. So I want you to focus both on DR and traffic. So pages that actually get traffic is a good rule of thumb to say, okay, Google actually likes this site. They give them organic traffic, so they would probably be a good place to get a link from. Then I've said here, as I said before, The anchors vary a lot, so there's a lot of places where you can control the anchors, and a lot of places where you can't. But focus, see if you can. It doesn't have to be exact, but see if you can hit a target that says 60% branded anchors and then 10% exact match. You don't want to overdo either of them, because you probably get more, let's say, juice from exact match anchors, but it can also be overdone. So I want you to see if you can it doesn't have to be exact, just see if you can hit this. And if you lack maybe exact match, maybe you should focus even more on guest posting, where you can control it a bit more. And if it's the opposite way around, then you might need to turn down the guest posting just a little bit, or change the anchors as well. And then, of course, SEO is never let's do it and then results instantly. These efforts you do in the first 100 days, it's a compounding effect. So you want to add a little bit, you want to show authority, you want to show history. It's not a magic pill that you just say start and then you get massive loads of traffic. You want to be a bit patient as well, because this is more the basic foundation you want to do for your site. It's not the, let's say, the best of the best strategy you can do, because that probably requires even more time or more money. So this is just a basic way of saying, okay, this is a great start. This is a foundation to build on, and then you can ramp up in the future. The links will compound over time, because you get more and more, and you get more and more authority. So that was the first 100 days for a brand new website regarding off-page SEO. If you want to learn more on how you should do it, you can always contact me through search royals, either on a website or on Facebook or on LinkedIn. If you want to get, I'll even make a plan for you if you want to, or even a backlink analysis, just entirely for free, no commitments at all. So you can get this great start for your new website as well. If you think this sounded way too complicated and out of your zone, we also have the Imperial product at our site. It's where we take fully care of the whole link building, let's say, effort and actions, and you just sit back and relax and focus on the things that you're good at. Everything you can find everything on searchroyals.com, where you can also learn more about link building in general, how to buy backlinks, how to vet them, and everything you need to know about off-page SEO. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you out there.